Since one of my best performing videos, month after month, is about just letting characters develop basic skills under the protection of Orkan, which I made almost 4 years ago, I think it's about time to revisit this concept. Now originally, I only touched on the basic idea about training skills under the watchful eye of the paladins, and only showed the first 6 days of training in Rebirth. Today we will be breaking down the first 461 days of training for 2 different characters that were played slightly differently. First things first, what is the idea of training in Rebirth? Essentially, in Kenshi, you can choose from a few different starting scenarios to begin on your sandbox journey. And no matter what you choose, you basically start the game with very squishy characters that have low skills. So usually, what you will end up doing is avoiding conflict with dangerous enemies, and working on athletics and strength, along with slowly building up toughness and attack. All of the starts throw you in the open world, where if you run into the wrong enemy, you'll just die. Except one. The Slaves start drops you in the Orkan slave camp Rebirth, where servants of Narco are brought to construct a huge statue of the Holy Lord Phoenix. While being a valuable part of the workforce, the paladins that patrol Rebirth will attack you if you disobey them, which is something you need to do manually, and keep you fed and fully healed if you are an obedient slave, which is that you work on the statue during the day and stay in a cage at night. This is all done automatically, so basically, you can play the game with a safety net under you, which is the loving arms of Orkan. There are some caveats to this, but that's the basic premise. As I stated, being an obedient slave in Rebirth is automatically done, and your characters will run along doing manual labor without you doing anything. So if you wanted to essentially skip the first few hours of having a character with garbage level skills, and did not want to mine iron and run circles around a city to build up your run speed and strength with minimal risk, you could just let the game run at triple speed as your character toils away in Rebirth, and they will automatically train strength, athletics, and laboring. Strength and athletics being 2 essential skills all characters need, and laboring being important if you are interested in base building, but this is what I did for one of the characters we will be talking about today. Zan is a Greenlander that I took a very hands-off approach to playing, and recording their progress in strength, athletics, and laboring. The only hand I had in what they did was moving to a cage at night that might have given them a better chance of them training the following day. That being one of these 5 buildings, and not outside or either of these buildings. And since I was not purposely training anything other than strength, athletics, and laboring, I didn't keep track of them. Speaking of keeping track of skills, here's the Excel spreadsheet of his progression. I recorded the first 100 days individually, and then just let the game do its thing for a while and recorded his progress whenever I remembered to, while it was running in the background. I did this out of both laziness and the skills not leveling up as fast anymore, so you can see in this graph as your skills level up, they level up more slowly. As the way that skills level in this game, it's by needing more experience, and the experience gained is lessened since you are stronger. So essentially, without touching the character, strength will stop training once the strength XP reaches 0, which I haven't reached yet, and I don't feel like spending more time figuring it out. Going back to the graph, we can see that you start getting diminishing returns around day 200, where this huge gap in data is, because I left the house to do something real quick, and didn't come back for 3 hours. Anyways, past the 200 day mark, the training for all 3 skills slows down from a logarithmic relationship to days to a more linear relationship to days, which I'm showing now. And according to the trend lines for athletics and laboring, it would take about 630 and 2,000 days respectively to get to level 100. Now for strength, you will hit the skill ceiling of 0% XP gain once your level gets high enough. On day 461, he's at 41 strength, 93 athletics, and 90 laboring. But what if we do intervene with the character? That is what I did with the other character I tracked. Lif is a Greenlander woman that from day 26 on had a total of 5 shackles on her, to have a balance of increased strength XP gain, and not too severely hindering her running speed, hurting athletics, and consequently laboring. You will notice that I also recorded her toughness, dexterity, dodge, martial arts, stealth, and lockpicking. But I realized that I didn't want to risk making Lif a cripple from fighting the guards, and stopped putting her into combat at day 90. But I did keep breaking her out of her cage at night and sneaking around whenever I tabbed into the game to record data. So the stealth and lockpicking was leveled up infrequently the whole time. Now looking at Lif's graphs, we can see clearly that her strength training was far more accelerated than Zan, due to her having the 5 shackles to weigh her down, and she ended day 461 with 92 strength, and with linear progressing she should reach 100 strength at day 675, but it'll probably be around 700. She also ended with 84 athletics and 89 laboring, which is not far behind Zan. She also ended up with a very venerable 58 stealth and 79 lockpicking. I realized that this experiment wasn't done as rigorously as it should, and also my sample size is tiny. So if I decide to do this again, leave a comment down below what I could do. I was thinking of absolutely not touching a few characters and averaging out their stats, or trying to do a character that fights as much as possible to see how good a martial artist I could train. But that would defeat the purpose of the whole AFK appeal. Now once I think about it, the most ideal setup for training in Rebirth: have a teammate with a backpack full of food, sneak into Rebirth to feed the people training so that they don't have all the starvation penalties slowing them down.